Hi everyone, welcome to the Braces Guild podcast, where we play through all the Trails games chapter by chapter. I'm Alex, and this is my co-host this time around, Brandon. Say hello.
I thought I was the same co-host. Have I been replaced?
No. Yes?
Am I different, Brandon?
I don't know if I can... Hold on, let me check the manual quick.
Oh no, I got the wrong branded manual.
Hold on a second. Let me just... In the case of your Brandon becoming sentient... No, you're the one and only Brandon.
Oh, cool. All the other Brandons don't exist? Great. I'm the only Brandon. I'm Brandon Prime.
Sarcasm module. Brandon Prime online.
Anyways, we're here to discuss trails. How fun.
Yeah, you got dirt trails. You got rock trails.
Gravel trails.
You got trails in the sky, baby.
Yeah.
Going full around that circle. And we're going to talk about those ones, because the ones in the sky are the best ones. They're much like pie. There you go.
They actually mentioned trails in the sky this chapter, funny enough.
Do they actually?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, not in where you expect.
I definitely knew that.
Not where you expect. I was going to take a screenshot, but I was like, oh wait, shit, I missed it.
Yeah. There are a couple times I wanted to do that. I still love being called unsexy like 7 million times.
I guess that's the bit we're going for.
The bit?
Yeah, I guess that's the bit that the game's going for. It's like every single...
That we can clip?
Oh, no. It's no, specifically, it's like... It's specifically every time with Estelle.
Oh.
Every new character, it's like, you're not sexy, though, even though you're 16. It's like, okay, why is it everybody... It's like, you're immature. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's even great, too, because, like, first chapter was, you're dumb and stupid. And then this new chapter is like, you're just gross to look at. But
it's
hey,
like,
you know what?
It's like every young character, every, like, old character is like, bitch.
Yeah. No, it's great. I really enjoy being degraded every single chapter.
Don't say. I enjoy being degraded.
Yeah.
Last time, the gang had resolved to go to Bose, and then the scene that immediately follows after that we wanted to talk about last time was the tower scene with Stella and Joshua.
Yeah, and you get to see your mom get obliterated by a cannon shot, collapsing a building on top of her as she holds her barely breathing child in her arms in the middle of a war-torn city.
Yeah, that's rough. Specifically, this was an event in the 100-Day War, which they're now commemorating after like the tower being built like after 10 years ago, or like recently built like after the war.
Yeah, I do like the 100 Days War being a parallel to the 100 Years War. Somehow it feels less climactic.
The 100-Day, well, I mean, like the whole thing is just kind of like the invasion of Embrodia into like Liberal, which surprisingly we get a lot of info in this chapter about that.
Yes, sir, we do. We actually meet a couple Embronians, Bronies.
Embronians and people involved.
I'm totally calling them bronies from now on.
And people who were like directly involved in the 100-Year War.
Yeah. We also get to see a lot of instances of them being like, it's no big deal. Just because we tried to kill each other doesn't mean we still have to try and kill each other, which I find very amusing.
I mean, I find that's like, it's more like the common people, like I said, like last time, of like the common people kind of like, fuck our governments. Fuck the army.
Man, just fuck our governments. No, dude, same.
One thing that I wanted to quickly mention with the tower scene, Estelle, when she was really young, went up to the tower to see like the fighting that was going on because she was like interested, and then the tower got hit, and then kind of like woke up suddenly to see her mom protecting her and singing her favorite lullaby while she dies. So that's great.
Yeah, it wasn't even being dramatic. That is literally what happens piece per piece.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know like how she protected Estelle. I assume she saw her at the top and then went to the top as well, and then
Look, Brandon, moms are tough, okay? Moms are tough.
Moms are tough.
You can't disregard the power of a tough mom.
Well, I don't think this mom was that tough.
They're never tough when they say that. It's always moms are tough followed by some catastrophic disaster. Just is what it is, mate. The thing that's interesting too is she's I think a baby in that scene.
She's
swaddled in cloth.
Yeah, like because briefly after this, Charizard is like, "Ooh, you two had a scene up there," and then it's like, "Yeah, we're family." What of it? And then we learned that Charizard was part of the troop, and Cassius was the reason that she joined. Like they met when Charizard was like 11 and Estelle was 6, I think. I don't remember the specific ages. So like probably like shoot, Estelle must have been
doesn't sound right because that would mean that is like they're
oh yeah, no,
it
was 10 years ago, so she was 6 and now she's 16. So yeah, no, she was 6 when
yeah, but
all this
Charizard
happened.
couldn't have been 11 because I mean there's only a 5-year difference between them. Charizard would be 21.
Yeah, Charizard is like 23, I think.
What?
Yeah, she's not old. She's fairly young.
What?
Yes, she's not that old. Dude,
she's the fucking same age as me, and she's like a year younger than me, and she's going on about how she's a vet of some fucking terrible war with like years of experience and like God, the way she speaks about the Bracers
that's what
Guild.
we call a child soldier, Alex.
A what now? I don't have child soldier. No. That's an oxymoron, right? Right?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, it was only for 100 days, so she can, suck it up, pull herself up by her bootstraps, and soldier on.
I'm gonna quickly just quickly to see what specific they say it.
By the way, I do want to say while we're in this intermissionary period, Bose, Roland, Ravenel sound distinctly French. Whereas Urbonia sounds very distinctly German, and one has airships and the other has tanks. Something tells me that this is like a French and German kind of deal, which makes me really excited to potentially see like how the 100 Years' War might be parallel to some historic events between France and Germany. I think that'd be fun.
Was it 100 Years' War between like France and England?
Or 100 days, sorry. Yeah. In the game, it's 100 days. France and England had the 100 Years' War, and it wasn't really a war that lasted 100 years. It was just kind of like on and off wars for 100 years.
Yeah. Okay, I found it. They met 12 years ago. She was 11. Estelle was 4. So
like 7 years difference?
Yeah, 7 years difference. So yeah, she's 23.
No fucking shot.
Yes.
What?
It confirmed in game.
But she speaks like she has the fucking wisdom of a 40-year-old woman. That explains how she can keep her alcohol down, let me tell you.
I mean, she's just very worldly.
Yeah. Right. God, she has a fucking whip. She just like completely changed in my head. Especially with the Ojo-sama laugh. The only thing I thought of her was like some like 40-year-old woman who's wandering around with these kids.
She does look older
it's
for her
hair.
age. Yeah, it's her hair. It's like purple silverish, so like it makes someone look older when you have like kind of white, like not like pure white hair, like some anime protagonists
like dirty
have.
white.
Yeah, it's like dirty white, almost like silver.
So we walk to Bose. And there's monsters, and you kill them, and it's a great time. I was over leveled, so it wasn't even a question. Like, honestly, I had to start avoiding fights because it was taking so long, just spamming the attack button. Um, and
Yeah, and
so
I
you get to
started needing to
Bose.
get to fight so I didn't become under level.
Yeah. No, I have a feeling that you would have felt it in one particular area that we'll talk about later, because that was when I started
Yep.
feeling it, and I was over leveled.
Yep.
So we get to Bose.
You missed. You missed
Oh, there's fucking Brant!
Grant.
Brant is
It's
an amazing soldier.
Grant.
He is part of the Gracers Guild of Relent. and,
The Gracer skill.
and he's
Shut the fuck
helping.
up.
He's helping. Excuse me. The shop owner of Bose to to goods to Roland. Yes,
Something like
he's
that.
shipping from Bose to Roland in a shopping cart of magic proportion that floats. And Brant is like, "Hey, Charizard," and Charizard's like, "Hey, it's you." And then they exchange pleasantries. And apparently, since the sky has become dangerous and all the airliners have stopped traversing between towns, they still need to send goods, so they do it via like carts now.
Yeah, carts like the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days of hover bikes and like electric scooters and carts. And that's interesting in its own right, because I guess it would make sense that if the ground is littered in monsters and creatures, you wouldn't want to be on the ground. You'd want to be in the sky. I'm curious
Yeah.
if it's actually safer up there, or if it's like its
It's
own set of creatures.
There's probably its own set of creatures, but I feel like it's a lot more safer overall.
Do, do you think like geese?
Geese get up there and fuck up like going their rations or something.
Yeah. No, it's like like Canada in real life. Geese are terrifying. They have tongues. They have teeth on their tongues. They can break your neck by swinging. Not break your neck. Break your leg by swinging their neck. In the world of trails, I guarantee you, geese are a fucking menace to society. Monsters probably avoid geese. I'd imagine they're like the mafia of the sky. I think.
The we got sky pirates, the
Sky
sky mafia.
Honestly,
All we
at this
need now
point,
is
the
a
sky's
sky
looking pretty
government.
bad. The sky people, the sky village. Welcome to Cloudton, home of me, the Cloud Mayor.
Honestly, that'd be pretty cool.
I would like that. I would very much so like that.
Building onto that, this whole chapter kind of like builds out kind of like the economy of this world, which I wasn't really expecting. Where like they get really into like, oh yeah, here's where all like our wares are going, whatnot, and then later on when we get to Bose, we get more into like, oh shit, since the airliners are like down, our economy is kind of like fucked because we're like very like tourist focused. So it's like,
Also, goods
uh-oh.
and services, because
Yeah.
Bose has the market, and even when you talk to like the market people, they're constantly like, "Oh, we can't actually get any of our stuff because the airliners are down. So please, adventure, can you fetch me some bare feet from the forest?" That kind of stuff. Like there's a side quest you can pick up before you leave Roland, where you talk to the local bishop, and he's like, "I figured out new medicine. Please go over to Bose to that church dick and give him this." And it's like a piece of paper that's like, "Here's medicine." So when you travel over there, the dude's like, "Ah, cool, new medicine." That bishop is like a super medicine man, and he's renowned throughout the entire world. So this will really help. And then like later on in the same quest, like the main quest, you'll get another side quest that's like, "I can't actually get the materials for this this I guess magic bandage. So can you go to the woods and grab me some, please?" Yeah, because like the airliners are down. I really like them building up not only the history but the economy. It always feels good when a game is like, hey, this is a world that things live in. Like
Yeah.
their reactions to events that occur. It's also curious to me because I'm curious in a sense if it's just like otherwise completely unknown no, not unknown. What's the right word? Like, is it completely arbitrary to have people normally transport goods on the ground, or is it like you hit a certain class of merchant and they're allowed to have the sky merchandise, or is it specifically like intercity economics where
It
it's like
might
when
I
a
might
city
be
requests a
intercity
certain amount?
economics because there's only like really five major cities in Liberal, and like bunch of the other ones are kind of like villages, so they probably must go on like ground to traverse between things, but probably want to go to the big cities to like get like extra produce or stuff. That's not like very like a central like farming village or something where they're not doing like their own produce or something.
Yeah, because the game it kind of alludes to the idea that this is not a very global economy. Like every city roughly can kind of handle itself regarding food and stuff like that, and it only really trades for goods like luxury goods, which is intriguing. Like you go to Ravenel, I think is what it's called, right? It's like the small city, the small town. I think it's Ravenel.
You mean like where Estelle and Joshua are from?
No, Ravenel is the
Oh, like a
uh
village.
yeah, that's the village, yeah. And
Yeah, I didn't
they
go
are
there.
no, you have to go there as part of the main mission. That's where the elder is, and
Oh,
he's like,
oh, that
"Oh, go
one.
to the
Okay, I
abandoned
was thinking
mine."
about a
Yeah,
different village that I didn't go to.
there's another village.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's another village that I was like, oh, never went there. It was like in between like Bose and like
Oh
Roland.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that was part of a side quest. I think I went there.
Yeah, I never went there, but
Oh
yeah, I
no, no,
went to.
no! You do go there, and you may have just not noticed it because you didn't go there for a side quest. I did. That's where Thingy Majig is that we're not talking about till later.
Yes.
Yes, that is exactly where you end up after doing that whole shebang. That's like when you open the door and it's like, oh, look where we are. It's like it's that place, which is cool that you didn't notice that because you accidentally traveled a friggin' mile away.
But anyways, before we get to the Bose region, we have to go through the gate and get a pass from the general that we kind of like know. And he warns us not to show our bracer badge to like the people at like Harkin gates because they don't like bracers for whatever reason. Ooh, because very obvious later on,
Yeah,
just due
and
to
he
one
warns you
dude.
explicitly, like, never, never come back. We don't want to see your fucking faces around here, at least until the end of the chapter. So you're locked out of Roland before you leave, or after you leave. Not that wouldn't. Yeah, after you leave.
Also, side note, I this is something I finally picked up. They say Audios instead of God, so Audios is kind of like the god of this world. It's like pray to Audios. I was like, oh Audios or something like that. I really noticed it in this chapter where like a lot of people started like saying it over and over again. It's like, oh yeah, has its own religion. Neat.
Yeah, I guess it's like if you're going to the bigger city, you're probably more likely to encounter that kind of stuff.
I guess, but it's also like the first time it's like, oh yeah, there's like oh gods or something like that fantasies do instead of like the singular god.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. I don't know because like, isn't it like the main goddess or whatever? Because at the start of the chapter, they're also like, ah, your mom's more powerful than God.
Yeah, I think Audios is the goddess or something like that. I don't really know. They haven't really like. It's kind of more just a background detail so far.
The side quest has gone into the godliness a little bit. Like that bishop basically goes on and on and on and on and on about the goddess and how religion isn't really taken seriously by most of the people in Liberal until they become older. Because it's like, well, I'm going to die here soon, so I should probably make up for all the things that I've delayed up till now. And also, politically oriented folk, they also have a tendency to be more in tune with like religion. Same with the wealthy. So it's particularly like random normal people, like the average folk, have a tendency not to care about religion, which I think is neat in a way, because it's
Yeah, it
like,
feels very like akin, kind of akin to like kind of like how we are kind of like currently compared to like where the general like religious kind of like schema was at in like whenever this game came out. Feels very like modern of like not a lot of people care until like like you get like a reason to, or you're not from like a family that's really into it.
Yeah, yeah, especially that one. Because there are tons of people who are just like, nah, when I die, I die. Even when they get to like older age, especially nowadays, I feel like we're just naturally more cynical towards anything that claims to like know something that we don't. Yeah. But
Well, well,
families
excluding
have
that
a tendency to.
morbid thought. Yeah, and now we enter in Bose. Huzzah! Everybody loves capitalism over here. Woot woot!
Well, like pseudo
Yay!
capitalism, because
Pseudo capitalism, but
the
people love
mayor
money.
the mayor okay, like, so the market structure, the way that it works in the game as far as it was explained, is that any merchant can set up a stall in the market, but they can't set up a shop unless they've proven themselves in the market first. So everybody that's outside of the market is a specific merchant that has managed to showcase that it has a certain level of relevance to the city and has had enough money to go and purchase a bigger spot. But anybody within the market is technically like a third rate merchant. And they don't have to necessarily be from the region. Anybody can go and pick up a shop in the market. So it's like, it's a market in the very traditional sense of a market. It's not like a mall.
Even though it's
Which
very
is,
similar to a mall in like the
oh, for
way
sure.
like it's structured, it has
Dude,
even has like the opening doors. It's
you
like
can
weird.
buy lollipops just in the corner somewhere. And popcorn. Like, it's just a mall.
It's like one square mall.
Yes. With a weird dip in the center.
Yeah, like a kind of like almost like a park kind of
Yeah.
esque thing.
It's very nice. It's got a nice open, like, glass roof. It's very lovely. You can buy a bunch of stuff here. This is where you get all of your traveling stuff, except for armor and orbles, because those are in the south block. Again, proven merchants, the distinguished class, compared to whatever the hell's in the market. Most of the market is just food, and like I think
Yeah,
you can
just
get
mostly just heals.
yeah,
And,
it's
like
like
stats
food.
stuff.
It's fast food specifically because this game has a fast food mechanic, and I think we've talked about it before. But if we haven't, you can consume certain food items to get certain recipes to convert your monster drops into food while you're traveling.
Which is pretty neat. And I didn't engage in this mechanic till, later on in this chapter due to reasons.
I still haven't because I've been over leveled and it has not mattered. So let's see. You also meet up with Camera Girl. She's there the entire chapter. She's mall folk. I don't even know if she's taking pictures. I don't really
Well,
remember.
she's so distracted that she can't like talk to us, so she's taking pictures.
Yeah, that sounds about right for her. Luckily, we don't hear any mentions of debt this time, which is good.
Luckily, but we hear about some other things later on in the chapter.
Indeedy do.
We meet up with Lurgan, the Bose kind of like branch manager, I guess,
Then
receptionist.
he lets you transfer your documents.
Yeah. So like each like side quest you do in like an era like resets your rank, which makes sense.
Well, it resets your rank in the sense of like I'm still level 9 or whatever guild member when I got there, but you're not given the same status as you were in the previous location. Yeah, it still contributes like a global rank. It's just when you have commendation or something like that, there's a specific thing that they mention where it's like if you have commendation, you are able to go without like supervisors or something, and like normally you need to have supervisors, but it's not necessary. Because I know that you can also just travel alone, and that happens later, right? So I'm not really sure the whole system of the Bracers Guild itself yet, which is funny.
It's fairly
We are the
gamey.
Bracers Guild, but yeah, it's very.
Oh
gamey.
yeah, we're the owners of the Bracers Guild. We don't know how it works.
Yeah,
Don't
we're
ask
making
questions.
shit up as we go. We have a master document. It was stolen by a very lovely foreign exchange student. I put it in my very obvious safe.
As we talk more with Lurgan, he tells us that the Royal Army is kind of keeping everybody in the dark about the Bracers, not Bracers, about the airliner incident, especially the Bracers Guild. Even though, I think this section of like the army does not work well with the Bracers Guild. I think I think that's like unique to this area.
Yeah, it's because he's in charge of this, and he himself does not like them. But it's also alluded that in general, Roland is an exception. Like Roland is the weird one where everybody's kind of good to go with the Bracers, and it's the bigger cities that don't really like the Bracers Guild. It's just this specific city that hates the Bracers Guild.
Yeah, and then we finally hear about the main cause, General Morgan, a war hero who repelled the 100-Day War invasion, and then hates bracers for reasons.
Which we are told might be due to some things, but we have our suspicions.
Had our suspicions that it's probably not what they say it is, because if it is, that's pretty dumb. So Lorgan tells us that the mayor has asked the guild to investigate the airliner matter and to like say fuck you to the army, because it's like we'll figure out her reason is like, hey, economy's kind of in shambles. Can you fix this airliner incident so we can get more money flow? Yeah, Lurgan says, go to the mayor's place. Mayor's not there. Says they're in the chapel. Goes to chapel. The mayor's not there. Finds the maid, Lilia. It's like, yeah, she prayed and then it's like fucked off to like deal with some shit in the market. And then we find out that she's kind of like just chewing out a bunch of people for raising prices on necessities. It's like, why the fuck are you doing this? These are necessities.
It's not even like she's coming into this from like an anti-capitalistic method. She's going like, this is just a stupid business decision. Like people are going to hate you if you do this, and then nobody's going to buy from you when you reduce it. What are you doing?
And then you're going to like damage the market's reputation.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm sorry. She's like, you fucking better be. Put your prices down and grow ahead, which is cool.
We learned that her name is Mayabel. Mayabel the mayor. Very illiterate.
Mm-hmm. Very illiterate.
Literate, not illiterate. Inherited the title after her father died, making her like the youngest mayor, I guess. I assume in the country. I doubt there's like someone young.
She's like barely in her 20s, isn't she?
It feels like it. Based on like character spread and whatnot, probably like same age as maybe Charizard, maybe like a little older.
They kind of regard each other as equals in a sense, so I'm assuming around like that ish. But I also know that Charizard remarks that she's young, so maybe it might be like a whole Japan thing, and she's like 16.
Maybe she's like 18 or 19, which wouldn't surprise me for like how people. It's like, oh, she's so young and like so like competent. She gives the party a letter to request to General Morgan, and tells them to hide their identities as bracers to him, so like they can get information out of them, so to resolve this incident. So the party goes to, oh man, I totally misspelled this. Harkins Gate. Hacking Gate. Which is kind of like a small border town. And it's also the sole entrance to the Empire, which I completely glossed over when first reading it. It's like, this is the sole entrance to the Empire. I was like,
no, they distinctly say that there's more than one way. This is just like the one from the north. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Because it's like the main entrance, because it just has like an inn to the side of it. But I'm pretty sure they mentioned that you can get in through some other ways. But I think this is like the main one, because it's basically like right next to them, whereas the other ones are kind of out of the way.
Okay, I remember reading this is like the only entrance to the Empire.
Well, I remember
that's why it was so significant.
I remember you were in a gate on like the other side, and they mentioned that they were invaded from there. So it wouldn't make sense if it was the sole entrance, if they were also attacked from a different gate. So I'm assuming by like sole entrance, it's like maybe the most civilian entrance. Because I remember they said like old traders went through that gate, and that's why the inn was there.
Of course, it's huge. It acts as the sole entrance to the Empire, and it's rampant that protects Liberl from foreign threats, as Charizard says.
Really? The only entrance is this one fucking gate. That just doesn't make sense.
I was like, no, I was like pretty sure that like Charizard said that, and then I read, yeah, that's a direct quote from Charizard. I don't know if there's like more gates, but this is definitely like the main gate.
She's stupid 22-year-old. What does she know?
It would make. I I was surprised because it's like, wait, how is this like the sole like I can see how this became the sole entrance after the invasion after 10 years ago. So it's like really like stripping down on like border control. Since it's like the sole kind of like entrance to the empire, it's kind of like a border town, kind of like something from like United States to Mexico. You have a few inns and whatnot.
And just like the United States to Mexico, there's a certain someone in the inn who is extravagantly overprepared for the transit. Fucking tourists.
We meet with like one of the general's men, and it's like, yeah, we're around in like the inn. Fuck off.
Yeah, legit. You go up to him and he's like, the general's not seeing people right now. Who the hell are you? And she's like, or Estelle's like, we have a letter from the mayor for the general. And he's like, go away. He's sleeping or not around or something. Oh, he's gone to investigate blah, blah, blah. The airliner sighting. Which is interesting. Do you remember whether or not he's specifically investigating Ravenel right now? Because they stated it later, but this might have been the instance. Either way, he's investigating some place of airliner sighting, and so it's like, go away. There's an inn over there. Go rest up, and we'll let you know if the general comes back. And then they're like, okay, and they go back to the inn.
And we meet a eccentric blonde man. We learn later that his name is Oliver, a traveling musician and bard who's incredibly bi.
Yeah, and I love him, and he's my husband, and you're not allowed to take him.
This is my Oliver. I'm going to protect him.
He's my Oliver, and I will love him and protect him and give him hugs and schnuckles.
Schnuckles. And everybody in the party fucking hates him.
Oh, absolutely.
But they try to like leave because it's like, man, he's too eccentric. He's too European for us. Let's leave.
Is he gay or European?
God, that song went through my head so much with this dude. Is he gay or European?
This matter could take weeks. They both say things like ciao bella as they kiss you on both cheeks. Yeah, no, he's great. I think he's confronted really early on, like, are you like fruity? Because he like instantly starts flirting with Joshua, because of course he fucking does.
Of course everybody does, because apparently Joshua's the pinnacle of like the top. What is it? What's the common thing where Time magazine, like sexiest man of the year or something?
Joshua yeah, no.
He's the fucking Ronald Rellens of liberal.
They spend like fucking a whole, I think, like 10 minutes just talking about like, man, Charizard, you're so hot, you're so sexy, nice sex appeal. And then Joshua, man, like, you've got appeal, you're a good looking kid, man, what I would do to you. And then God, Estelle, wow. You're really unsexy. And she's like, what? I'm sexy. And Joshua's like, And everybody dogs on Estelle.
And then when they try to leave, he like falls behind them like a lost dog.
Yeah.
And they tell him to like, yo, bro, fuck off. Why are you following us? It's like, oh, okay.
He's like, there's just something about you. I don't know. And they're like, go away.
After that weird sidetrack, we finally talk to General Morgan.
Whoa, before you do that, I explicitly remember the guy at the gate saying, go straight to the general's office, down the hallway on the left. And I responded, all right. And the very first thing I did was fuck off directly to the left to go up the staircase.
Yeah, no, I went directly into a different door.
I was like, I'm going to go literally everywhere I can before I talk to this general. So yeah, then we go to the general.
Yeah, we meet General Morgan, who's very gruff and very old.
Yeah, he's relatively friendly until he meets you for real.
Yeah. He tells us that basically the Sky Pirates have taken the airliner and have demanded a ransom for the hostages. And then it's like, it still opens up for Big Mouth. It's like, oh yeah, we fought these people. And I was like, you did what? Your
And then Joshua and
messengers.
Charizard are both like,
Oh my god. And it's like, you fucking bracer rats, you've hide your identities. And it's like, bro, you wouldn't have talked to us if if we told you who we were. Okay, bro.
I distinctly remember being like, okay, Estelle, but also like, yeah, like well, there's really no other option here. It's like we were gonna get caught, because especially talking about something like this.
Yeah, you get thrown out, and it's like Charizard's like starts to like what is it?
She starts mouthing off the general.
Yeah.
And the general's out there with like 3 other soldiers, and then our boy comes in.
Boy comes
Husbando.
into like
He serenades us.
serenades
Fucking
us.
love song.
Yeah, it breaks the
And it's the
tension.
most awkward, like, 5 minutes of dialogue of him just dancing and singing, and nobody else talks during the entire thing. Everybody just watches him.
But the first line of the song mentions trails in the sky, and I was like, bro, he said the fucking name of the game.
Oh, dude,
song.
name Pog.
I was like, I don't know if like that song has like any like thematic relevance at all, because like it mentions the name of the game, and maybe like that whole song is like indicative of like the theme of it, but like who knows? I was just like, ooh, name of the game. Try to take a screenshot. Oh, it auto events dialogue. Well, never mind. Oh yeah, and then after he says the song, that's love and peace, baby.
Yeah, I love that.
After that I was like, you fucking stooge, I hate you.
I had, like, the biggest grin. I was like, I love this man. And I love how the general, like, he's not upset at this point. It's just, like, out of pure awkwardness, he's like, I gotta go. He's like, please just go.
Just
Just
leave.
buggers off. Yeah. And then on the way out, Oliver tries to follow you again. And you tell him off, because Estelle, I believe, specifically says he's creepy and she's scared of what he might attempt to do to Joshua. But he ends up coming anyway.
Yeah, we like little like meet downs, like actually introduces like who is properly and not does not try to stalk them. And
And
then
he has a gun.
And then he has a gun. And then we new party member. Woo! He's fun. You don't get him for you don't get to really play as Oliver that much this chapter until like the very like end dungeon. But he's fun. I like how he's a bard with a fucking gun. It's like I sing song right, shoot.
For all you strategy nerds out there, he's ranged and he's got ridiculous amounts of AoE because the thing charges really fast when he attacks. And all he's gonna ever do really is do his like main attack, because magic isn't really worth it from him.
Yeah,
He has
really,
no songs. As a bard, he has
no songs to
bardic
start.
songs.
To start off with. We don't know yet. Well, we'll have to
I
wait eventually.
really want him to get like a really awkward like 10-minute song that he can sing in the middle of combat.
Oh man, there's a really funny thing in like Persona 2 where like there's like a whole ability. It's like, I'm gonna sing at this demon. It's like brings out the mic, and it's just like I would love could love that, like how Dorothea brings a camera into battle.
Yeah, I still love that.
Probably just like debuffs like traditional bards do. But it like
Or
his
like bardic inspiration +1
Yeah.
saving roll or whatever.
yeah, and all that. Yeah, like you said, his main like craft ability is like just kind of like a AoE, or no,
It's
no, it's a
literally spray
straight
and
line.
pray.
I think
No, it's not a straight line. It's like a little ball effect, and he just like shoots arbitrarily within like a grid of like a 3x3 or a 4x4. It's like a
Yeah,
medium size attack spell.
Yeah, and then his ultimate is the one that like encompasses a wide range.
I legit think I've seen his ultimate once because how often I spammed that AoE spell. Because it's so good. It's just ranged like 100 damage to everybody at once.
Yeah, but like his ultimate though, it definitely does like 100 per hit for each enemy instead of like 30.
Is that when he throws a bomb or something?
Uh
Doesn't he have like a bomb
No, that's the enemy. I think
No, but he has like a.
that's Kyle.
It's still
Thinking of
AoE.
Kyle.
That's what I remember. Like I do vaguely remember that his big spell is still AoE, but I don't remember if it's like a ball or a line or something. It might be a line.
Yeah, one of his abilities is a line that I remember.
Then
I
it's
don't know
got to
which
be
one.
his ultimate because I didn't use it very often. But I know.
Oh
His,
no,
like,
no, his
main
ultimate
ability.
is huge AoE. I use that a lot because it was very. I needed that at the end of it.
Well, then that doesn't make sense because I remember specifically I would spam his like little ability, and it was just a little ball. And the reason I spammed it so much is because him combined with the stun of I'm gonna call Joshua Kirito because honestly at this point, fucking Kirito, Estelle, and Oliver they just basically had AoE on everything. Same with Charizard. Like you could just spam AoE spells and the enemy would just melt within like 3 turns. Really good.
Oh, is that Joshua's new ability I'm thinking of?
Yeah, Joshua gets the
never mind.
ability
I'm
where he can
thinking of
delay a bunch of
Joshua's
people
new
by
ability.
shooting in a
Holy
line.
shit! Yeah, that's
And Joshua's new ability
blink
makes
ability.
him way better.
Yeah, no, that's
Joshua up
fucking
to this
blink.
point was just like useless single target damage, which literally every single character had on my team. Except every character had multiple like area of effect damage
Okay,
too.
yeah, I was
and
thinking
then the
of a
moment
different
Joshua
craft.
got the ability to delay somebody's turn, he became one of my most used characters.
Yeah, no, I was thinking because he zips, delays a turn, and like attacks people in like a line. I was thinking of the line because he fucking Oliver has a gun.
Yeah, no, this dude just fucking Joshua just zooms quick.
Yeah, it's probably not Oliver now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and his name's Olivier.
Who cares about your name? You're now gone. You're going
Yeah.
now gone to the Bose Market. Yeah, you go straight to the mayor, and then you find Niall and Dorothea at their footsteps, talking to Lilia, and it's like, we want an interview with the mayor, and then Dorothea blurts out, it's like, yeah, we want an exclusive on their on their chest. That ain't that right, Niall?
Exclusive on the mayor's chest. What are you talking, Dorothy?
What
the fuck? She was gonna make us so much money on the front cover of the magazine. Now look what you done, Dorothy. Can't talk about the mayor's titties to the maid.
And then it's like, fuck off. And then they fuck off.
The maid's straight up just like, okay, come on, man. You talk to the maid, and she's like, oh, hey, guys, want to come in?
Yeah. And then basically we report our information back at her, and it's like basically nothing is really accomplished except Mabel finds out that we're Cassius's kids, and it's like, oh yeah, Cassius was like kind of like part of my life because like Joe Morgan's and my father and Cassius kind of like knew each other, kind of.
Yeah, because Cassius was a soldier in the army.
Yeah.
And the general was like, man, he's so good. He's so awesome. God, I just love his chiseled jawline. If only I could promote him to a higher rank. Good sir of chiseled jaw and apt abs, would you join me in the higher ranks? And he's like, nah, man, army life ain't for me.
I want to be a cop.
I want to be a cop, yeah. And the general just, no, my washboard abs. And so that's how they know each other.
Yeah, and then we have no information to go on, and it's like, maybe let's talk to Niall. And then we both proceed to spend a long time not finding Niall.
At least a couple hours. So first I was like, okay, Niall, drinker, kind of destroying his body. Let's go to the bar first. So I go in there. I look up. I'm wandering around. Nobody's there. I talk to who I think is everybody in the bar, just in case they have an idea of where he might be. I don't see him. So I leave. Then I go to every other building in the city. Then I go to the trails alongside the outer edges of the city, just like the initial screen. Then I finally come back, walk back into the bar, just so I can be somewhere, and go and look up a guide. That was my journey.
My journey
2 hours
was
of work.
my journey was considerably less longer. I looked around like everything. I went to went back and forth at Bose Market so many times. Like How is he not here? Because Dorothy was there, I think, or potentially. It's like, where the fuck's your boss? And
I
then
do
I
think Dorothy was in the market. I remember going to the market like first. It was like the bar in the market, and I was like, okay, Dorothy, do you know where Niles is? And you talk to Dorothy, she's like, ah, la la. It's like, for fuck's sakes, lady.
Yeah, and then I travel outside the village a little bit, and I was like, "There's no way they expect you to like go west to find him." And I was like, "Wait, no. The whole point is like they went to Bose right after Roland for his story, so they must be in Bose." And then it's like, "Oh yeah, Niles there, but he blends in the background so well in the bar." It's
Yeah,
like
it turns out where I ended up while I was reading the guide, it's like, he's in the bar. I'm like, what? No, he fucking. And I look over, and he's right fucking there.
it's just his character sprite is too like toned down because it's like a green and purple, but like almost like a brownish color, and then like his sprite does not pop out.
Yeah, it's desaturated.
It's
So, like,
desaturated,
when you're
similar
looking.
color. It
So when
kind
you're
of looks
looking at
like
the
an
bar,
NPC
it's
or like
blended.
yeah,
But you eventually talk to him. He's like,
yeah.
boo hoo hoo, I don't have a scoop.
I don't
And
have
then-
scoops.
I
I
don't
don't
have
have any ice cream scoops.
he's like Igor. I don't have scoops, master. And you're like, hey, we got a scoop for you, but only if you give us a scoop back here. And he's like, yes, I'll give you a scoop. But he's like, no, I don't actually want to. And Charizard's like, look, this is the only way you're going to get any info. And he's like, fine. And then he
Well,
tells you that he
Specifically,
basically
it
knows
was
nothing.
Joshua who's like convinces Niall, and then there's some weird thing that Estelle says later after the meeting. Is like, oh man, I can't wait. Can't believe you went from "I'm gonna break your knees" to you're a nice guy," even though Joshua never like threatened Niall. And
No,
I
it's
have
just the way that he was speaking was like a mob boss the entire time. Because, like, they have that talk earlier, and that's where Charizard and Joshua are, like, pressuring him. And then they move to a bigger table. And that bigger table, Joshua, Estelle, and Charizard are on one side, and he's on the other. And Joshua's like... He like... It's not, I'm gonna break your knees in, like, the explicit sense. It's just he's being very threatening. Like, look, man, we're your only chance. You aren't gonna get any information, and we're not gonna give you anything unless you give it to us. So, why don't you you scratch our backs, we'll scratch yours, kind of a deal. And then afterwards, he's like, man, you got it. Like, you're good. Like, you'll be fine, kind of a deal. So it's just the dichotomy of personality from, like, we're interrogating somebody to, no, we're just friends.
I
Joshua
get
has
that.
hinted a couple times at being a psychopath.
I
So,
mean, I feel like I just didn't read it that way because like I skimmed over like a little bit and it's like Estelle said that. I was like, did Joshua say anything like that? Because it sounded like since there was like really like no tone and voice, I can't really like discern like the shift. Because he didn't really say anything really threatening. He just said like logical things.
you can tell when Joshua is being psychopathic when he smiles.
Well,
I'm
like,
not even shitting you.
yeah, no, he does the smirk and like eye glare.
Yeah, he's one of those people where he gets overly polite when he's threatening.
But anyways, there was an eyewitness report from a kid seeing something dark traveling in the sky by like the village of the place that we keep talking about, like
Ravino.
Ravino.
And he's like, there's a kid. The general went over there. They interrogated them, investigated the area for like a whole day, and then they left.
Yep.
And we're like, that just sounds exactly like what the army would do. Let's go double check. And so
Let's double check their homework.
Just before that, Niles is like, yippee, I got a scoop, and leaves to go find Dorothy. And then I think they go to investigate a different city. I'm not sure you see them again that chapter.
You do. Later on.
Okay. I think it's like at the end though, right?
It's at the end. Yes, it's at the end.
Yeah, because you come back. Yeah, okay. So then you go to Ravino. I have to mention, I've got a couple side quests here that I pulled up because as the guy doing the side quests, I figured I should remember a couple specific ones that I found were pretty impactful, that if you're not going for 100%, you're going through the game, I recommend you do these ones anyway. One of them is the Ravino monster. Before you go to Ravino with the main quest, you can go there a little earlier through a side quest. The side quest is a medium difficulty one, and you go all the way over, and you talk to the elder, and he tells you, hey, there's a monster in our back alley, basically, and nobody can go and harvest the orchards, the trees, because this monster is going to threaten to wipe us out. So you take on the monster, you go and kill it. It's cool because it's a unique monster. There's no other instance of this monster in the chapter. I'm not sure if it's because up ahead it will be brought up, but it's neat seeing unique items and monsters in areas like this. It surprises you. It nearly kills you. And it's really, really strong. When you kill it, and this is the interesting part, the town of Raveno remembers you. And so from basically this point onwards, Brandon is going to have played a completely different game to me because the interactions I'll have had with every single character in this area is going to be exclusive to the fact that I killed this monster beforehand. In fact, when you come back, you basically talk to the elder and you learn about the fact that he's had a kid, and he's really open with you, and he tells you about the kid who saw the monster, or the thing in the sky beforehand, and he doesn't tell you about the army, but he does tell you that the kid had become really distressed, and he tells you about the orchard season, and then he remembers you. So you leave, and then eventually when you come back here, for Brandon, it's his first time meeting it. For me, I come up to the elder, and he's like, "Oh, you're back. What's up?"
Even before
we
that,
found another monster.
Yeah, and before that, another thing that you mentioned to me off podcast was when we go to the village, we come across another red-headed bracer named Aget. We don't know his name until after the conversation. He's a little cocky son of a bitch who puts Estelle down just like everybody else in this chapter.
Yep. I think he exclusively says that she's wimpy or something like that.
Yeah, maybe from the angle that she's like Cassius's kid, and because
they
mentioned something about
your dad was so cool, and then I mean you're okay, you don't live up to his name.
But he also goes like, oh yeah, that old man. So there's kind of like some like tension between Aget and Cassius that we'll probably get into later. That's what I assume. But like the main
Charizard
reason
does mention it's like tinged with respect.
Yeah. It's like that kind of like respectful hate almost in a way.
Like Dr. Doofenshmirtz and Perry the Platypus.
Yeah, he mentions he came down here for like an errand for like killing a monster, and I think that's the monster that you kill in the side quest beforehand. Yeah, because off podcast you mentioned to me like that's he gives you completely different dialogue if you did that first.
Mm-hmm. If you kill the monster beforehand, he's like, I came up here to defeat a monster, but it looks like it's all peaceful, so I guess it sorted itself out. And Estelle says something along the lines of like, we came to defeat a monster, and I think it was Estelle. He could have just mentioned it to us. And then he basically goes like, oh, so you really are Cassius's kid. Huh, kind of a thing. And then he does the same thing as beforehand, where he's like, well, you're still pretty weak looking. He's like, maybe there's hope for you yet, kind of a deal.
Yeah, so like you get like kind of like two different readings. It's kind of interesting where it's like the less you do, the more like it kind of like fits into this mold of like Junior Bracer, but the more like side quests that you do, people become more like respectful towards you, which is kind of neat.
Like even the town basically regards you as heroes.
Which, not for me. They're just kind of like, yeah, they're townsfolk.
Whereas for me, it's like, oh, my friend, you're back. Have you come to save us again from some god knows what? And you're like, no, we're looking for a kid.
Yeah, and then also townsfolk just talk to me about harvest. I was like, yeah, we harvest.
Mm-hmm. That was the same for me, but
same, but you know, it gives you like slightly different. Anyways, we meet the kid who saw the ship flying towards like the abandoned mine area. So it's like, okay, we go look for them.
Well, hold on. There's also the mentioning that it seems counterproductive with what was said in the first chapter. Like not the first chapter as in the chapter we're doing with the prologue. Early on in the prologue chapter, it's mentioned that Estelle is terrible with kids, right? And that Joshua is really good with children. in this chapter, it reverses, and all of a sudden Estelle is apparently really good with kids, because on the pier, she tries to just show the kid her moves with her staff. And that's what inspires the kid to be like, I'll tell you, because I believe in you, kind of a deal. And all of a sudden, magically, she's really good with kids. So, then we go.
I feel like she did it in like her own way, of
Yeah,
like
for sure.
of like helping kids. Maybe not like traditional way.
I never really got the reading she was bad with kids, so I think it was just Joshua like nagging her or negging her earlier. And then in this one, I think he's being more sincere, because I think Estelle is surprisingly good with children.
Yeah.
Joshua's just
like
really
she
good with
handled
women.
like the situation with the two kids pretty well. Besides, like, besides being like cocky and like kind of like turning her back.
She has that like playful attitude that kind of speaks to a lot of these kids, where it's like, oh, you're just like me, but you're old. So yeah, tends to work out pretty well for her. And so the kid's like, well, cool, I like you. And she's like, I'll save you, I'll protect you, look at my cool staff. And he's like, oh, dude, nice. Yeah, go north. The only area you could have gone. And then probably the worst scene happens, where you go all the way north, you get to the mine, and then it's like, we should grab the key. And so you go all the way back. And then you go talk to the elder. And then he's like, oh yeah, we can give you the key, no problem. And then you go all the way back.
It's like, it's realistic, but I feel like that's like padding. Come on now.
Yeah.
That's like,
especially because it's like, Estelle's like, yeah, Estelle is legit like, we should break the lock. And then fucking Joshua's like, nah. It's like, why not?
It just feels like nothing. It just feels like a realism thing for being realistic and not really like meshing well with gameplay. It's more funny than annoying, but like it's not that long. It's surprisingly long to get back there, but like not too long.
Yeah. Also, we have the benefit of like speed up keys and running and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have the benefit of fast forwarding.
I don't, but you do.
Yeah, because you're playing on keyboard, loser.
I get more strategic gameplay. Anyway, we go into the mine. The mine's virtually empty. Like, there's no real monsters in there or anything. Literally, all you have to do is go straight, roughly, and you'll get to the area you're supposed to go. The chests and stuff that are around are very few, and they hold random junk. None of that's good.
I honestly just forget about. It's just kind of like an in between for like the fight coming up, really, for me. We
Which
go
there
in
is
there.
a fight.
Yeah, we go in there. We find the airliners over here. Whoa, army incompetent once again. And then we find Kyle, the sky pirate who shot us at us earlier, and surprised that we're here early.
He remarks, man, I thought you guys were going to come here, a little later. I guess you're here a little earlier than I thought, but we can still make this work. And Estelle's like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, you're not.
Oh, wait, you're not. Oh, shit. And then you fight Kyle. And I forget what Kyle's main gimmick was, because I think I just unloaded... Yeah, bombs. I just unloaded my ult on him, and he died, and then I finished off his mooks.
Yeah. I had so many AoE spells at that point. I cast 2 tornadoes with Estelle, and then I delayed everybody with Joshua, and then I Charizarded AoE. And so, literally, their group was dead before they swung. Except for him, who was on like 1/10 of a health, and he launched a grenade at my entire party. Hit us for like 100 each, and then we killed him. So, yeah. It was fun.
They cower and like go away. We investigate the airliner. There's no hostages.
Specifically,
here.
he uses a smoke bomb.
Smoke bomb. I guess not. They don't fly. Well, no, there is their airship there, so they smoke bomb and then
transfer all
fly.
the material from the main airship to their airship. Yeah, that's what they were doing while we were showing up. They're like leaving this as like a false lead for the army, because they suspect that the army's coming back. And so then you investigate afterwards. And let's be fair, like, even though it's empty, it's really cool seeing the inside of one of these airliners and actually getting to like deconstruct the individual pieces. Like, you get to hear about the engine, which they took, but also the engines don't turn off. Like orbital engines are just something that are permanently on. They just produce energy, which is cool. They also talk about there is a luxury location that you can sit in one of these airliners that is just a big glass dome basically on the front of it. There's also like the standard seats for the majority of the people. Then they have a cargo hold on the underneath, and they also have like the main captain's area, and the captain area is like standard anime pilot seat thing where you have the captain standing in the center with like the ability to talk to the entire crew at once, and then a bunch of people in like a semicircle around them. Very like Star Wars-esque, except no giant throne.
The immediate thought is like Star Trek, because that's like Star Trek's whole thing.
Yeah, but they don't have the throne, right? And they don't have the big
guess.
screen. So that's why I was like, it's more like anime style, because the semicircle is like very traditional across everything, because it's like, look, that's the important guy, and everybody here is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's modeled very similarly off of like real ships, because in real ships, that's actually what you do. You stand there as the captain with the steering wheel, which is mostly automatic. You have like 500,000 buttons you can press to talk into different kinds of speakers, and then those speakers go to different locations in the ship, and they have a receiver so that you can hear it back. And back in the day, there was no like electronic side of this, so you'd literally speak in like a tube. And then you do actually have the semicircle of people, and the reason for that is so that you can see and monitor what each person is doing, because the idea is that the captain is most experienced and so can identify when errors are popping up. And if an error happens in your ship, the whole ship is doomed, because ships are extraordinarily complex to manage. So it's grounded in realism, which is cool. It's a very small ship, I also want to point out. There's like maybe room for like 40 or so people at most. If we assume each like chair can fit two people in it.
Yeah, it's more kind of like a ferry, and not like a cruise ship.
Yeah,
It
Cassius
kinda like-
was supposedly here.
Yeah, supposedly was on here. And then we do another little investigation kind of segment where you get like an options like, what do you think happened? And then I chose like a wrong option or something. And then they kind of conclude that it's like, okay, since the airliner is like so big and like is it in this spot and they couldn't bring it back to their hideout, their hideout must be in like some small kind of like rocky
That's exactly
thing.
what I said. I got it right, by the way. I want to point that out. I was looking at it, and they give you the option of like they were transferring materials from the airliner to their ship, and then the other one's like their hideout must be in a weird spot, or like this is their hideout, or stuff like that. I said their hideout must be in a weird spot because they already had mentioned the other three, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they would have taken the entire goddamn ship if their hideout was someplace where they could actually have this ship. So they must have just like a weird spot where they can't bring this airliner. And lo and behold, that's correct.
Yeah.
But sorry, continue.
Anyways, shock. We leave the airliner, and the army is here with Morgan. It's like, oh, you sky pirates. It's like, bro, and it's like, bro, how the fuck did you even get here? Like right after us.
Yeah, which is curious. I genuinely thought that Morgan was a spy because they were like, oh, you were here early, blah, blah, blah. And then literally right after, the army's like, oh, we're here. And moreover, this is the one area the army didn't look, and it's implied from earlier that Morgan was the one leading it. So at this point, I was like, okay, Morgan is a spy, or he's the mole, and he's the reason that the Bracers Guild isn't working with the army is because Morgan's trying to like prevent the Bracers Guild from actually solving it, which is why he also imprisons us to delay us and yada yada. But I really don't know. That's just my current running theory. But yeah.
And I have a different current running theory because that I feel that doesn't quite line up with like what some other things that happen in the chapter. But anyways, they throw us into jail, and then guess who's also in jail? Oliver.
Guest appearance. He's there in the cell next to you, and he's like, woe is me, for I'm tossed in a cell. And then you guys are like, why are you in a cell? Actually, never mind, I don't want to know. And he's like, too late! La, 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 la. And they literally fall asleep listening to him.
Yeah, and the main reason he gets put in jail is because he drank expensive brandy that someone bid a lot of money on.
Like 100,000 or something like that.
Mira. And
Yeah.
it's like,
And not only did he drink it, this Chad, in the middle of a song, left to the kitchen to quote unquote like quench his thirst, picked up the most expensive bottle, sat down there, forced the chef to make him food to fit with it. Then the owner came in and he's like, "Hey, you want some?"
and then got thrown in jail.
Yeah, Chad. So yeah, and then you wake up and the general comes in. He's like, "You're Cassius's daughter." And,
Well, no, the mayor comes in and is like, yeah, but she explains the situation to Morgan, explains that like these are Cassius kids, and then whatnot. And then she specifically asks them to like investigate that, and so it's like they release them, and it's like, oh, Cassius was in the army. Damn, he went. Damn, he went
his
for first round.
washboard abs left me. I just wanted one, general, second general.
And then everybody kind of feels like concludes that Cassius is the reason that like Morgan's like this, which I don't think that's why he's like that.
Oh yeah, no way.
There has to be like another reason, like maybe like a wife dispute or something, or like or Bracer killed my family or something.
Legit, I was just thinking like Cassius killed my wife or something, or like stole my girl. But yeah,
because
so
it's very because it feels very. I feel like that make a lot of sense of like. Because I think I assume Cassius' like main reason for like leaving the army is like due to the death of his wife.
Oh, for sure, probably.
Is my like leading theory, and then that could like build a divide or something, but like whatever. Oliver also gets released for reasons.
Literally, he's just released because. Like, you're all the way out, and then Oliver's like, "Wait, are you gonna leave me?" And the mayor's like, totally charmed by this dude, because she was gonna be the one to buy the brandy, and he's like, "Ah, shit, it was good." She's like, "It probably was, yeah." And he's like, "No, it was great. Anyway, can you let me out?" And she's like, "I mean, I guess I could, yeah." And then she just does, and he's like, "Cool, I'll just join them, and that'll be my payment, right?" And she'll be, "Yeah, sure." I genuinely think she just like fell for him and he just charmed his way out. Like full blown rolled like a nat 20 persuasion. And dude straight up rizzed his way out of jail.
Oliver's now back as party member, woo, for basically the rest of the chapter.
Yep, and he is amazing. He has such good damage. And he's AoE to hell, and he has the largest range out of the whole party, which makes sense. He has a gun. He has very low speed, though, so make use of him as a turret. You cannot keep him on the far edge. I recommend putting him up at the front.
I have not messed around with any of the tactics in this game. It's just kind of like, yeah, you put my party members in this position, sure, go for it.
Yeah, no, I'm speaking heart to heart from strategy player to person who's listening to this, interested in the tactics. Put him at the front. Don't put anybody not at the front. Like, there's no reason for somebody to... You're going to get hit within the first round anyway on anything that's ranged. Anything that's melee isn't going to be able to reach you regardless. Just put everybody at the front. But especially put Olivier in like front and center. Because that man has ridiculous capability to like destroy some shit. I built him with health. I don't remember specifically why, but his orbal machinery doesn't allow you to really combo well, and I had a lot of water-based orbaments at this time. That's really good because you can get AoE health on him really, really, really early, which means you can flip back and forth between shooting somebody, healing the entire party, and AoE blasting the entire group. And because he's so far away, nobody ever really hits him throughout the rest of the battle, so you can just spam this combination over and over and over and over and over again, and he just is like a perfect support that also does a ridiculous amount of damage. Giving him magic is pointless because you just want to hit as often as possible to buff his capability to do his AoE blast.
Honestly, I gave him fire because everything's weak to fucking fire, and his magic is pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, that's why I gave him health.
and I currently don't have any AoE healing yet because I haven't really
That
like
was the
needed.
only way I survived the last bit. I didn't use healing at all until like the last section, and then all of a sudden I had to use AoE healing so much that I actually had to use the MP boost to keep him up. It was bad.
Yeah,
But yeah, so you
an
finally are
interesting thing
free.
with oh my god, it's fucking Olivier,
Olivier.
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 The main thing with his ornament is like he has one line, just straight up one line. He doesn't have any like branches off, which is interesting.
Yeah. I guess I was kind of wrong. It was the opposite because he's really easy to buff, but he's hard to have a split focus. So like if you give him anything, he has a really strong version of that thing, but he can't do anything else really. That's why I gave him nothing but water because I had a bunch of that left over, and like one of the special orbals, which I just now realized is probably gone forever, for reasons that we'll get into later.
It probably you'll probably get it. I don't know how the inventory system works because I put a lot of ornaments on him like during like our main like little excursion towards between Harkensgate and Bose, but I think I got those ornaments back.
I think I got them back as well.
Yeah, the main thing that I'm concerned about is like trying to get like more ornament slots available, and then like party members not being available, and then it's like, oh man, I've wasted all these resources on these party members. So I think from now on, I think I'm just gonna boost Estelle and Joshua because I feel like those are gonna be like the two party members that are gonna be consistently in the party.
This game feels like it might swap back and forth between main party members even at some point too, because I've heard whispers they do that in future games where they like remove the main party member. So I've just been buffing whoever I feel like is the most interesting to buff, and I think right now Estelle is completely unlocked for me. Joshua's mostly unlocked. I think Safara is mostly unlocked, and I think the Bard is completely unlocked. What is Charizard?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really bad at names. But yeah, Olivier is like almost completely unlocked. It's just Joshua and Charizard who I think I haven't fully unlocked yet. But anyway, we leave prison.
And before we leave prison, the party like comments that like due to like Kyle's earlier comment that there's probably a spy in like the army because like why does Kyle say that? It's like trying to expect someone of like authority. It's like there's probably someone spying here, and then it's like during our time in jail, people robbed downtown, and now we gotta investigate that. It's just like what? How convenient. When the braces were out, immediate hit.
Yeah, and it's like broad daylight too.
Yeah.
And so we go back, and the army's also there, because of course they fucking are. But the mayor has basically forced it where it's like, no, you guys are going to play nice. And so they're kind of half accepting of the fact that you're there. They still call you civilian. And you can technically explore everything except for like one household. You go into that household, and the old lady's being interrogated by this army official. And then you talk to the army official, and he's like, go away, Susan, fuck you. And then you leave the house, and da-da-da-da, Man in Black appears.
Specifically like when it's outside and it's like, okay, civilian, leave the investigating to us in like this sector. And it's like you can investigate but not here. and then a man in a black uniform comes in and is like, we should let the bracers help us. It's more beneficial if the bracers help us instead of hinder us. Who would have thought?
Yeah, and he specifically says GTFO to the army officials.
Yep.
Because they were harassing civilians.
Yeah, and he's much higher rank. His name is Alan Richard.
The most white man name I've ever heard in my goddamn life.
Yeah. Thank you, Colonel Richard. And then I forget what the girl is called, even after this whole chapter is, because they say it briefly later on, and then I forget.
Yeah, I forgot there was even a girl. I was just so distracted by that, man. He also talks to Niall. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
remember
yeah.
if it's now or later because I think he leaves and then Niall shows up. He's like, "Oh, did you hear da da da?" And then he goes and chases him. I think.
Yeah, because Niall like talks about him like I think during the conversation earlier, but it wasn't really relevant till like now. And it's like, oh hey Niall, we met Colonel Richard. And it's like, damn, I need to drop everything for this interview to meet up with this guy.
Yeah, get an exclusive on that man's chest. It's gotta be
Yeah.
majestic. Yeah.
Hell
And
yeah.
then after they leave, you can go and talk to Lady again. Fucking, she just loses her shit about her husband.
Yeah, it's like, no good for nothing husband.
Oh, good for nothing fishing all day. Fucking worthless piece of. And then he walks in the house. He's like, "Oh my god, Jesus, lady." She's like, "Where have you been?" Ah! And he's like, "I was fishing."
I've been robbed, even
been
though I haven't
robbed.
been.
Yeah, she's legit like, "The whole place was robbed. They could have hurt me." And he's like, "Are you kidding? If they walked in and saw this, they'd leave." And then you confront him. It's like, "Oh, have you heard anything about this?" He's like, "No, but my friend up in the fishing area, he heard mentions of this occurring, and he saw some very suspicious people, two lovebirds or something like that, who wanted to
Yeah.
come by." Again, Japan.
This guy is
game
fucking
showing-
wild. This guy who's talking about is fucking wild. The assumptions that he leaps to is like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
What assumptions? I barely.
Oh,
remember.
bro, there's such a weird line where it's like, oh yeah, like a ghosts love suicide pact, and it's like, bro, what?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
What the fuck are you talking about? You just saw two people that are shady.
This is the same man who said he wanted to fish God. Like,
This guy's out of his mind. But anyway, we go down to the fishing village, meet up
yeah,
with
and
this
we
dude-
meet this fucking crazed lunatic. Estelle, actually, by the way, is like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Like the entire way through, Estelle's like, "Yeah, no, this adds up." Fishing God, love pact by moonlight for suicide. Yeah, no, that's right.
What's even fucking wild to start this conversation is like Oliver gets his attention by blowing in his ear. It's like,
Yeah.
Oliver, what the fuck are you doing? You can't just do that to a guy. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Here's my
Oliver
secret
proving that he
technique.
is the Rizzler.
Blowing out this guy's ear out.
Yeah, just giving him a nice ear massage with my tongue.
Oh, that's worse. That's so much worse. Oliver's a
what's
fucking
up?
freak.
Oh, I love Oliver, yeah. Yeah, and then you talk to the man. He's like, "Fish God in river, fishing him. I've tracked him my whole life." And you're like, "Cool. Have you heard about the people?" And he's like, "The people? Oh yes, those two. They said they were gonna come back. They must be suicide love pact. Yada yada." You go, "Okay, well,
All right.
I guess we'll wait for them." And so you go fishing. Wait.
Well, you get free time, and then everybody kind of like does their own thing. Joshua reads. Stell goes fishing.
I spent 30 minutes trying to get a fucking rod.
Really?
Yes. Because I knew where the fishing rods were. So I was like, okay, I need a fishing rod. So then I went to go grab the fishing rod. And I couldn't. I just looked at them. I'm like, okay. And I went down and I'm like, hey, can I get a fishing rod? But there was no option. So I was like, hey, can I get a fishing... Because I looked at the fishing rods before I came to this section. So I went and talked to the girl before I looked at the fishing rods again. Because they said that you could rent a fishing rod. So I was like, hey, can I rent a fishing rod? And she's like, you can rent a fishing rod here. And I was like, cool. How do I do that? And so I walked back up. I looked at the fishing rods. And I was like, okay, maybe I have to pick it up myself. And then I couldn't. So then I went back out to the river. And I was like, okay, maybe I have the fishing rod? And I tried to use it. And I'm like, no, I don't have the fishing rod. So then I went back in and talked to the lady again. And she's like, you can get a fishing rod here. I was like, how?
Yeah. I was
I
so
looked it up
confused.
again. You have to talk to her after looking at the fishing rod in that instance. So it's like, first you have
I
to
did
look at
do
the
that.
fishing rod there. Then you talk to her. Then you talk to her a second time. And then you can go and pick up the fishing rod. Then you can come back.
I was also confused about that because, like, oh yeah, still go to the dock, and then it's like I went to the dock. There's no prompt, and then I just talked to everybody in the town. It's like, or in the inn, and it's like, okay, I have a fishing rod now, and then it's like, okay, there it goes. I just talked to two people, and then it's like, okay.
Yeah, I spent like a good solid 30 minutes
I
traversing the town.
I spent 5.
I envy you.
And then
fish, you do not get God.
but before that, Charizard and Oliver get fucked up on some.
No, Oliver gets fucked up.
Well, Charizard at least plays that she gets fucked up. Because there's many times in between, like there's like 3 separate times where like they'll have different dialogues between each other if you go like in between each like activity.
Mm-hmm.
And they just get progressively like worse and worse until like Oliver just gets fucking like swirly eyes. It's like
And then I vaguely remember too the kids like try and convince Olivier to have another drink just because they wanted to get away from Charizard giving them a drink, and he's like, no. And Charizard's like, be a man, get another drink, and he's like,
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Then he goes to bed.
Yeah. But before that, my favorite scene of the chapter happens.
It's when you make sweet, sweet love to Charizard.
No. After you fish, you go back to where Joshua was reading, and then you pick up the book he was reading, the 100-Day War book, and then you see him like just staring off into the void, you know, like he does.
Edgy teen be edgy.
Yeah, once again, my favorite moment of the chapter is Estelle and Joshua having a touchy moment where Estelle tries to be kind of like his emotional support because like she can tell that when Joshua does this, that he's like not like in the right headspace.
And specifically, he says something which is kind of neat.
Yeah. Also, like, because like Estelle feels like she needs to do this because like Joshua can like helps cheers her up when she feels down, and like it's kind of like just picking up that.
He also alludes to the fact that like he has had this issue before specifically, and that he is somewhat bemused by the fact that Estelle isn't super concerned about his past.
Oh yeah, no. Joshua
stated.
Joshua said that nobody wants to hear his D&D backstory.
Well, he's not sad. He's just like, you know, I've got a D&D backstory. And she's like, and he's like, I'm not going to tell it to you though. And she's like, I know. And he's like, okay, are you okay with that? And she's like,
Before that, he plays like the harmonica, which I totally forgot he has, but and it was like such a great little thing. And then like I really like Estelle's whole like speech after hearing with Joshua's past, because like Estelle doesn't know much about her father, but like they still consider each other family. It's not, you don't need to know someone's past to really know someone. There's another like direct quote from Estelle describing kind of like Joshua. It's like, you're caring and lonely. And it's like, that's very like apt, because like Joshua like cares a lot for like, tries to like, what's the best way? Like Joshua does more for other people than himself.
Yeah, there's a hint of like he feels like he doesn't deserve goodness.
Yeah, so he kind of like self-isolates and only like tries to help others but not himself. And like Estelle's trying to like give that to him.
Mm-hmm. She forcefully gives it to him, and there's obviously the case where he feels gratitude for it, which is neat.
Yeah, and then they start reminiscing, like when they first met. It's like, you must have a million questions, but you never asked anything. And it's like, of like the boy that came in wounded. And it's like, oh, so you kicked me in the chest.
Yeah, I was just about to say it, but I was holding myself back.
I was like...
He's like, she explicitly goes like, you also beat the shit out of me. And she's like, I did?
I did?
It's like, yes.
This feels like a conversation that we would have. It's like, I did that? Yes. Yes, you did. I was like, oh,
Wait,
okay.
who would be who in that case?
Either of us. But yeah, no, this is my uh, sh- favorite scene in the chapter. Like, came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah, it's nice seeing them be family and not incest.
Yeah, like there's been way less incest in this chapter, which has been so much nicer.
There has been some. It's just way
It's
less.
it's way less. Also, I like how another thing that like Joshua constantly does is like, oh yeah, I'm also Cassie's kid, but I'm adopted. He always does that. He's not he can't like be like he still doesn't feel like he belongs in this family. He's always like has to do the stipulation of like, oh, I'm adopted. So he kind of like puts up like that barrier as well. Joshua,
Yep.
for being pretty bland, is kind of still interesting overall in like what he's doing, what
If you
the
say
story's,
so.
what the story's doing.
He definitely to me feels like baby's first edgelord. Like he hits literally every single flag. Like the only thing I'm missing next is like I came out of a genetic laboratory. Like he is Shadow the Hedgehog.
He's not Shadow the Hedgehog.
He is just Shadow the Hedgehog. You go back to the thing. I think Charizard and Olivier. I think Olivier is just straight up drunk and passed out.
Yeah,
So Charizard's like, I'm gonna put him to bed.
and then
we'll
she's
wait
completely
for
fine
Dude
now.
Man. Yeah, no, like she comes back. She's like, anyway, let's go and do stuff. And Estelle's like, wow, you really pack your fucking alcohol. And she's like, yep. Anyway. And so you wait for people at a quote unquote hidden spot, which is just the top of the tavern, which I guess makes sense. The two people come and shock gasp. It's Kyle and the
Josette.
tomboy. Josette, yeah. They go and meet up with some shady people by the dock, because that dock has seen all the action. You go down from the tavern, and you spy on them in, like, the corner. And you witness the shady figures pull up and just chat with them. They mention, before they show up, that it's creepy how unbelievably punctual they are. I don't remember specifically what they even talked about, to be honest.
It's the ransom. The queen specifically is giving the pirates ransom for the hostages. So they're getting like a wealthy ass ransom from them.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
basically the
they've already
conversation.
agreed to it, right?
Yeah, it's already like agreed upon, and it's like, oh, okay, this is great. And then that was like the information they were getting from. It was like, I think they're probably like the in between from the ransomers.
Oh, they also mentioned that their brother has been weird recently, and Kyle's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Don't say that, Josette." And Josette's like, "No, but seriously, he's been a little wacky." He's like, "He's got a plan." Does he? Well, you're a girl, so you wouldn't know. And then she's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "No, no, I mean that. Like seriously, like you have a whole life ahead of you. Go and do something with it. You don't have to be stuck here." Which is sweet.
yeah. It's a sweet kind of like sibling thing. It's like,
Yeah. I
and like
could
a
definitely
teasing.
see saying that to my sister. You're just a girl. You don't understand. What the fuck do you mean? Well, I mean, like, no, seriously, like, please.
Please leave.
Yeah, please. This isn't good for you. I've done terrible things. You have not. Like, let's not. Yeah. So while they're talking, you leave.
Well, but first off, Joshua vaguely recognizes the shady figures.
I don't think it's vague. I think it's very clearly.
It's clear. It's clearly he recognizes them, but it's like not. He doesn't remember. Doesn't really like remember who. Probably like he probably saw like a flash of like their helmet or something in like a battle, is what I am assuming.
So it doesn't remember them, but like knows
More,
of them, kind of a deal.
yeah, kind of like knows of like the armor. Because like at what rewatching the scene is like, oh man, shit, is that two like is that like the two officers in like black? And it was like, no, it's complete. It's just the sprites are very like dark, and then like the portraits are very like very different from the sprites. But anyways, they head off to the tower of this region, which we don't really get to explore, which is kind of like interesting because I thought like at each chapter, the way that we were setting it up, we were going to explore each one, but we end up don't, which I think is still neat. So it's not
To
like
me,
repetitive.
it feels like the towers are either going to be like end game content or side quest content or something. Like I don't feel like it's going to be main quest content until like the very end of the game.
Yeah, it
'Cause,
definitely
like
sounds like a optional dungeon type thing.
the game's kind of interesting in the sense that like the way it opens up the world is like you're in a town and all you know is the town, and then you go to two towns and you know of the idea of traveling along the towns. And so by the end of each chapter, your world like opens up that slightest bit more, and you feel more and more capable of making like independent decisions that are more impactful to a wider area. But they don't just go like, okay, you can fly everywhere now, and like, yeah, you go to this event and you solve this problem and you defeat this army or whatever, right? It's kind of nice that way. But yeah, we go off to their ship because we have the bright idea of like, oh, if they're here and the ship's there, we can go to their ship there while they're here and then ambush them. And then so we go, and Estelle's like, shouldn't we bring Olivier? And Charizard's like, nah, he's passed out drunk, and honestly, he's a civilian. He probably shouldn't be joining. At least that's what she says outside, but it's very clear she doesn't trust him on the inside. And so we all leave
Because
without
he's
Olivier.
a simp.
Yeah, he's a simp. That's the exclusive reason. He won't stop looking at me with his eyes. And so we get to the airship, and we're like, God, that's a lot of soldiers. If we attack them, we'll win. But they might leave again, and we want to actually get them this time. Plus, we need to find a way back to their base. How are we going to solve that problem? And then Olivier pops in, and he's like, I chose bulimia and got here after.
I chose to throw up.
Through the power of bulimia, I have arisen. And Charizard's like, oh my god, hi. And Olivier's like, I have a plan. And so, next scene, you're in the sky, and a soldier's like, da 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 da. Oh, I need to go grab something. And he goes into the lower decks, and he
Well, no, he
walks on the staircase.
hears something specifically, and then it's like, it must be the wind.
Yeah, no, he comes down full on Oblivion NPC, like, what's that? Walks down.
Must be
Like
a rat.
Estelle is very clearly in the corner.
Underneath
the
the
wind.
staircase.
Yeah. And then goes back up. And then that's it. And then you arrive at Le Headquarters.
Les Hautes Cotes, and then
Yeah.
beat up a bunch of pirates.
Beat
It's like,
the shit out of everybody there.
yeah.
And then they're like, Olivier, how did you know to do that? That was wicked. And he's like, I didn't. I just wanted to try it.
I thought it was neat.
Yeah, it sounded like a fun idea. I've always wanted to do it. And everybody's like, what if we got caught? And he's like, we didn't.
Yeah.
So then we go and invade the place. I will
Dungeon
admit,
time.
This dungeon was not only hardest, it was quite possibly one of the most boring.
This dungeon sucked. It was like a bunch of hallways and then got really confusing.
It was one long line with like a couple breaks.
Oh
along
yeah,
the way.
it was so weird. It's like every doorway was like, here's a small square room. And
with either nothing in it or nothing to interact in it. But I have a side quest for this area as well. There are side quests that you pick up that have a long period to complete them, and you can't actually complete them in the zone, and they won't tell you where they are. So one of them is a stolen ring from a household. You can talk to the lady, and she's like, I lost my ring during the Southside burglary. I have no way of getting it back, and I don't have any information on where it could have gone. While you're in this dungeon, if you raid one of the chests here, you'll find the ring.
I
And then you
think
can
I
bring it
found the
back.
ring, and
You can bring it back, or you can wear it, and it's not a good ring to wear. So it's kind of like, for people who know, it's actually part of the world. For people who don't know, it would be exactly as if you just didn't know. It's just a ring. So now certain content already has an implication where it's like, this item might have belonged to somebody if you took it out of here. Because you can use the ring. It's not like some random side quest item. You can use it for all intents and purposes. Which is neat, I think. That's the other big thing. Also, it's mentioned that this dungeon is like a hollowed out temple from before the Urbonian invasion. And the reason that it's damaged is because they were used as military fortresses during the invasion and like places where airliners would hide, just as the bandits are doing. And it's also where the hostages are, which I guess we should talk about after we talk about beating the shit out of the bandits on the way.
Yeah. You go to like each room comically, it's like, let's get them, boys.
Yeah. It's like you're wandering through, there's a bunch of hallways that lead off, and then you just turn around and come back in. And there's a bunch of creatures that are in the hallways, which I guess are like trained guards or something like that, like trained pets. These things are difficult, but they only come in like ones or twos. You get to certain doorways, and there's like a bunch of guards in these doorways. And if you try and leave without grabbing the door, Joshua will be like, wait, we should probably go kill those guys. And so you're forced to deal with them. And whenever you do, it's literally like, attack! There's no advantage for leaping into the room and like getting at them or anything. So it's literally just, here's a forced fight. 7 guards have attacked you.
Yeah, they spam you with guards. Like the boss.
So many of them.
Like the overall boss fight of this area is easier than like most of the guard fights.
Mm-hmm.
With just how many times they
like,
spam.
There's so fucking many of them.
And there's no save point in the dungeon, so you can't restore HP or MP after going a bit, and like you are forced to backtrack through the dungeon and then fight through a bunch of mooks.
Yeah, and they get stronger on the way back. So you'll beat them up the first time, and it's like it's somewhat difficult, but not really.
Yeah,
I was over leveled again. Then you go and well, technically you're not right with the save point. Once you get to the hostage room and you beat up the guards that are there, you have a doorway that's just outside that, and it's a hidden doorway. If you go out there, it'll open up a wall. That wall is from the village between Roland and Bose. So you can technically go to Roland or Bose. I'm assuming Bose because I think you're locked out of Roland. To go to the hotel and heal up and then come back.
Did you do that?
No. I did not.
I don't.
Sounds
I don't
like a
think
massive
you can.
pain in the ass.
I don't think you. I looked at the footage and it looks like, oh no, we have to go back. We have to go back to the hostages.
No, they specifically say because you leave out and you're like, oh, should we let the hostages out? No, we shouldn't let the hostages out because they could get in trouble while the guards are still up and running. So let's deal with the guards first. And then I was able to just walk straight out.
No, if you go even further on, I looked at a video. If you go even further on, if you try to go through like a path, it's like, oh no, we have to go back to get the Sky Pirates. That was one path. So I don't know if it like the other path as well. I don't know if you can go back to the village area.
So it's just one big endurance run.
Yeah.
So save before you get here, and then save after.
Just make sure you have a lot of items. They give you like 100 EP item in this area, so like you'll be fine. But like,
the way back is the hard part anyway.
Yeah.
So you get to the room after the hostages. Then you get
specifically, we find the hostages, and Cassius isn't there, which is like the big thing. Oh, yeah. The big thing. I completely was like, oh yeah, Cassius is not there. That's the huge thing.
Yeah, and the captain's like, the logs show he was supposed to be there, but he must not have gotten on when we went off because he just didn't show up for roll call or whatever. So it's assumed that he like was going to go on it, and there's like, actually, there's something else I've got to deal with. So the frickin' lazy bones could have saved them, but whatever.
Well, he probably did get the information out because he left. So we make it to like the bosses, quote unquote, the boss's room, where we meet Dawn, who's a really bad guy, who's like, let's kill the hostages. Let's take the money, blow it, and then do it all again. Ha ha ha. And then everybody was like, bro, are you okay? Did you hit your head?
Yeah, because I think was his plan to actually give the hostages back. Because I vaguely remember
No,
he was like, "Nah, we're not going to
spec-
give them back. We're just going to take the money and then we're going to re-demand another ransom."
Well, no, the plan was kill the hostages, take the money, blow the money in like vacation, and then do it again. Infinite money glitch.
Yeah.
That's
And then, yeah, everybody's like, "Whoa, dude, like, what the hell are you doing here?" And then you invade and interrupt. And then he's like, who is this? And they're like, "Oh, it's you guys again. What the fuck?" And then you fight.
Then you fight, and then the Dawn magically becomes unmind controlled.
Well, we should say like what the fight's like first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you get to fight both Josette, Kyle, and Dawn. Dawn has a big ass rocket launcher and is extraordinarily slow.
I don't think,
he
is it a
hit
rocket
3
launcher?
times.
I think it's a cannon. I think it's
Either
just
way, I think it's a cannon. It's like a side cannon.
Yeah.
But it's effectively a rocket launcher for the purposes of this battle. He shoots explosive bombs that have like a medium area of effect. It does a bunch of damage, not that much. He just kind of peppers AoE. The big scary person is still Kyle. Kyle's bombs are way more damaging than...
Yeah, I killed Kyle first.
Yeah, same here. And Josette's just like fucking barely present.
Yeah, Josette's kind of like there. I killed it. This fight wasn't that hard. It was just kind of like I killed Kyle, then Josette, and then the bulky guy, and then that was it. You could.
I
do
did so
nothing.
much AoE that I got Josette, and then Kyle was like on his deathbed, and then I smacked him quick, and then it was just the Dawn. My whole team was together, and we had delayed his turn for so long with Joshua.
I didn't get that ability
he finally
till
got to hit. He did like a special attack, and he just fucking massacred my party. Like I went from like full health on all of them to like losing 200 or 300 each on every single person, and I was like, "Whoa!" to heal quick. And it was the first time that I used area of effect heals, and then from this point on, I had to constantly use area of effect heals.
After this fight is when I got Joshua's blink ability.
I had it like way before this.
Yeah, so I didn't delay any turns, and I'm still pretty fine.
I think I just got unlucky with a really funny whoops.
Like
yeah,
I
you
got
beat
hit
him up.
multiple times with a cannon, but never like devastating. It's never dead.
He got me with a special attack thing.
I think I confused. Oh no, that's what I did. I gave
Give the 50%
Oliver.
wind thing.
No, I gave Oliver confuse, and then that completely negated his attack, so it never did anything.
Nice.
So I was like, oh damn, status effects actually work on bosses. Nice. Probably use confuse.
Yeah, they're
later
really
on.
good.
Yeah, I used confuse, and then he just did nothing for a turn.
I swear to God, I think I caused Kyle to faint when I was in the original fight. Like, not this one, but the prior one. It's either that or I did it on, like, a bunch of people with, like, the Hell's Gate or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's really good. But yeah, you beat up Dudeman. Fairly straightforward fight. And literally you beat the Satan out of him.
Yes.
And he's like, "Whoa, hey guys, what's up?" And they're like,
What's
"Are
up,
you
fellas?"
serious?"
It's like,
And he's like, "Who are these guys? Why do I hurt?"
hostages?
like,
what?
Yeah, literally, hostages. Who set you up to this? Like, you did. What do you mean?
It's like,
And then
oh,
you're
good
like,
old
"You're
mind
under
control.
arrest," and he's like, "I'm under arrest for something I literally haven't done. What the hell?" And then, as you're putting them under arrest, smoke bomb, I think.
Yeah,
and
they
leave
smoke
again.
bomb. Yeah, smoke bomb.
And then I think it's because you're distracted talking to your party, and then they smoke bomb, and then you're like, "Ah, shit, they're out again." So then you have to go and chase them. As you're chasing them, guards will spawn in the corridor, in like certain areas, and you have to refight everybody you whooped. But now they're like twice as strong.
Not twice as strong. There's twice as many. There's like 6 guys, and they all like go first, so they can like instantly wipe a party member, which happened to me.
They
And
never
this is
got
the first
below
time I
half,
used
but-
like food.
They never got me below half, but I had AoE heals, so every single time, like literally for the entirety of this fight, Olivier was just healing people, and that was all he was doing. the entire way.
I at the last fight, Joshua and Estelle were both out, and then it was just Charizard and Oliver. Charizard was half health for me, and Oliver was like kind of full. And then I just spammed like ultimates until like I got like the right RNG for like Oliver to like just solo win. It was like God, because like I was running out of items because of like how long this dungeon was and like how strong the enemies were. So this chapter told me stock up on items.
And this chapter told me, you're not over leveled anymore.
And then once we finally get to like where the airliner is, the Royal Army is here for some reason.
I think it's alluded. No, I don't think it's alluded. I'm pretty sure Niall says they're off to go and do yada yada at this place. Because I remember the general saying like Niall told him about something here. Because I remember Niall's also there.
Niall's also there, but I don't know if like.
I'm pretty sure he's like, oh, I told the admiral about what you guys are up to, and then he said, oh, we got to go there or something like that.
Well, we didn't figure out it was here though.
No, that's why I'm not super sure. They may have tailed us when we were in the ship.
I have a theory. So I don't trust Richard. I think he's the mole. He has a very ominous aura about him. He's very like over nice.
And he's wearing all black and has, I think, silver hair.
No, he's blonde hair.
Is that blue eyes? Is he blonde hair, blue eyes? Well, it's confirmed he's a Nazi. Yeah, no, he is super soldier man. He's kind of hot.
Yeah, because like there's many times they mention a spy in this game, and it's like it has to be like a portrait character because like why else?
Well, they mentioned a mole in the prologue, and that just ended up being some random fucking person in the mine.
True, but like this one,
it feels more important.
This one feels more important, especially since we get to see a lot more named characters and how like overly nice this dude is, and like how like it feels like out of nowhere that like he kind of like knew where we were. Even if like Niall gave them a tip of like the vague idea that we thought that like the ship, they might be in like a mountainous region. It's like, I don't know how, I guess they went off that tip, but like, I feel like he knew.
I have a different theory, but I can't talk about it until we're done this chapter. So.
Okay. Well, we'll continue on. Okay.
We'll soldier on.
Shoulder on. We're very close to the end of the chapter. This was a long one.
Yeah, there's a lot that went on compared to the first chapter, but it's only.
But also felt like there's
6
not
hours.
much happened.
Yeah.
At the same time, weirdly enough.
There's a lot of plot points that are worth talking about, but in the game they're not really worth like lots of time dedication. You know what I mean?
I guess,
like the whole scene at the pier was like 10 minutes, not even. I read quick, so that might be it. But like, I feel like the general plot beats happen very naturally, very quick, and it's just on reflection where it's like, oh my god, there's just so much. Yeah. So Alan Richard, he commends us. He gets us he stops us from having to go to jail because the general's also there, and he's like, bah, bah, bah.
Bah, bah, bah. And then it's like, General Morgan, go interrogate the Sky Pirates. It's like, I remember.
And then, yeah, you don't see the Sky Pirates anymore. You go and talk to Alan. He's like, congrats. We'll handle it from here. And then Estelle's like, both happy and sad, because she's like, I'm happy that we dealt with this and that we caught them before they left. Because they apprehended the leaders as they were fleeing, because they kind of like cut them off. So Estelle's like, woo, we got them. And at the same time, we didn't really get them. The army did after we did all the hard work.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's like that mix of like yay and woof. And then we leave. I don't think anything really interesting happens there in the temple from that point on. So we go back to Bose. And
go back to the guild. Mayabel congratulates us. It's like, yay, money. And then leaves, basically.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to add a little bit more to the amount that I was supposed to give you. I think it's like 5,000 mira or something.
I think it was specifically the receptionist, Lorem, gave you more money.
No, she explicitly says that she's going to give you more money. I remember that.
Okay, I think both of them say that. It's like, oh yeah, here's a little top off.
Yeah. And then you get commendations from Lorgan or whatever his name is.
Yeah, it's like, here you
So
go.
that's 2 of 5 places. that you
2 of
need.
5. Yeah.
And then, and then Estelle and Joshua are like, we should probably go and get the other 3. And Charizard's like, I should probably get back to Roland. And
No. Specifically, the receptionist comes in with a parcel from Cassius off the
right.
airliner. Because it's like, what now? Because we don't know who Cassius is. And then
They specifically confirmed at this point, like, yeah, he actually left before he got on the airship to go and deal with something else, and he got this in the mail from me. And then,
and
well,
it was
not
like
from her, but like,
from the receptionist, and it's like, okay, here's the parcel, and then they go off and read it, and it's like, I had something come up. I won't be around for. Won't be around for a while, so I'm sending this letter, and obviously this letter never came back because the airliner got commandeered. And that's basically the thing. It's like, go and be senior bracers, like if you want to,
basically. Yeah.
or stay in
Because
Roulette.
Estelle's, well, they specifically, like, they have that whole moment of like, should we keep following up on Dad's business or should we do our own business?
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to point out that Estelle and Joshua were kind of like, is it right to open the letter? And Olivier was like, do it. And they're like, but should we? And Olivier's like, do it.
It's specifically the parcel, not the letter,
yeah, sorry.
because there's a letter and a parcel that's just unmarked. That's not really like addressed to anybody. It was just kind of like, was also there, not addressed to them. And then they open it up, and it contains like a black orbiment artifact meant for a Professor R, sent by K. Ooh,
Yes.
I don't know why.
So now the Alphabet Mafia is getting involved.
I don't. Who? I guess this is like. Who the fuck does this? Like sends like their like
The
names
Men
in
in
like
Black.
code.
The Men in Black.
I guess, but like,
You got Special Agent J, Special Agent K.
I think it's weird, but like it's kind of just like, okay, we're being mysterious, I guess. I don't think it really like, since like this country doesn't really have like good communication. They all have like landline telephones. Like I doubt you could find like a Professor R or whatnot. Like it would make more sense like to Professor like name and then sent by K as like an initial, but like just to reference someone as Professor R doesn't really make a lot of sense. It makes a lot more sense if you do like initial as like a signature.
I don't know, maybe there's only one Professor R in their organization.
I guess.
It doesn't have to be like the whole of everybody, right? It can just be like one dude.
Yeah. A little
Either
silly,
way,
but
You get it's like a black orbital that has no slots.
yeah.
It's specifically like, I think Olivier is like, oh, that tech. And then he geeks out a bit. And everybody's like, how the hell do you...
How do you know about this? And you're also like that other artifact geek.
And then I think he says something about like, oh, well, in the Erebonian Empire, this is like a highly praised artifact or something like that. That's worth a lot of money or something along those lines. Everybody knows about this kind of a deal. Charizard gives him the side eye. And then I think that's when they're like, okay, we got to decide what we want to do with this information. I don't want to chase Dad's stuff all the time. He's probably fine now that I know he's safe. There's no reason to chase after him anymore. He'll come back when he feels he needs to. And in the letter it says it'll probably take him a couple more months.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well, we have a few months before we really need to do anything. What should we do? Charizard's like, I have to go back to Roland. Like,
I need to like. We can't trust this fucking Ridge guy or whatever.
Yeah, to just constantly deal with everything. So I'll go back. And then Olivier's like, my queen.
My queen, I will follow you to the ends of the earth.
Yeah. And she's like, are you sure? And the kids are like, are you sure? And he's like, yes.
So they see
go to the airport.
them off to like the another airliner.
Yeah.
And then Charizard's like, it's time to go. And he's like, yes, my queen. And they're like, she's going to have you drink again. And he's like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, like, you're going to get, that's like the first thing she's going to do. And she's like, oh yeah. And he's like, oh no, no, I've changed my mind. And then she grabs him by like the scruff of the collar. Like, drags him to the ship. He's like, no, no, no.
No, no, no.
No, not again.
And
Then
then
they wave off.
yeah, and then Estelle and Joshua's main driving goal now, instead of flying Cassius, is become senior bracers, which is, a more
The ripe old
generalized
age
goal.
of 16.
I mean, like Charizard basically did it, so they could do it. They can be even more
Charizard's
younger.
a war vet. Apparently.
I don't know if she like participated in the war. It wouldn't surprise me if she might have. I don't, but she'd be like 13 at the time, so I don't know if she participated. Depends.
Do you think she'd still use a whip?
I think the whip comes from like the troop thing, from the circus.
Oh yeah, she said she was part of a traveling show.
Yeah.
God, I forgot that she's like canonically a gypsy. But yeah, and then Estelle and Joshua are gonna go off and do that thing, and then you cut to Charizard and Olivier.
You get like the end of chapter thing as like they fly off, and then you get like the post credits chapter thing of Oliver talking to a mysterious man on a cellular device.
Well, maybe not cellular, but like the orbital equivalent.
The orbital equivalent of a cellular
And it's
phone.
very rare, the particular technology he has, where it's like only very high-ranking officials are allowed to have access to one. Mm-hmm. And Charizard catches him while he's talking.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Specifically,
"I knew
Oliver
it."
talks about to a mysterious man about like a higher power behind the scenes because they were talking about like the Sky Pirate incident, and then it's like there must be a higher power behind this. And looks like they have like Oliver's kind of like fucking with the dude, and it's like I love messing with that guy. Like yeah, you do, Oliver. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I love how even if he's faking a personality, it's still his
No,
personality.
no,
It's just more flamboyant.
Well, specifically, no, he states to Charizard after like Charizard overhears and then catches him. It's like, I knew you were like a spy, and it's like, I have not been not authentic. This is just who I am. I haven't
I
lied
think
about my
they-
personality.
I think they don't really resolve it either. They're just kind of like, I caught you. Kinda. Not really.
well,
I'm just talking to
Charizard-
people. And
Charizard
then she's like,
specifically
"Okay."
asks who you are and like what you're here for, and then Olivier, oh my god, his fucking name,
Olivier.
Olivier, after Charizard presses him on like, why are you here? And then he's like, my true goal is to find Cassius Bright. Then end of chapter. It's like, oh, he's looking for Cassius for reasons.
And then I think that's the end of the chapter.
Yep, that's just chapter end.
And my current running theory for like the thing is that Olivier is probably in contact with some officials surrounding everything, and probably just reports on his phone as he's going about his
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Probably,
I don't
but
think
it's
Alan
probably-
Richard is like a bad guy. I think he's just like, if he is a mole, he's a mole in the sense of like he's Urbonian.
Potentially.
He doesn't look liberal. He looks Urbonian, and he acts Urbonian, and it would make sense if he's like in cahoots with Urbonians. Like the Urbonians are meant to be like canonical Germans, and when you look at Alan, he just screams like the Japanese interpretation of a Japanese German. Like, dude literally is in like a German style uniform. Like, yeah. No, that dude, I think he's the Urbonian mole. I don't think it's like a mole from the Bandits. I feel like the game is slowly opening. Like, I feel like we're basically in a cage of cages, and each chapter reveals a cloth, like takes off the cloth of one of the cages, and then opens up the door so you can fly to the bigger cage. You're still caged. You still can't see everything, but like you get the access to the next layer of the world. And I feel like going from we're in a city dealing with this local bandits to we're between two cities dealing with regional bandits that aren't actually bandits. It's like a whole mafia kind of style organization with a ransom for the queen. I feel like the next one is going to be we're between multiple cities and we're dealing with a threat that's slightly more escalated, and then eventually we'll be like doing conflict between either countries or cities or politics or something like that. Because I feel like we're slowly escalating the story's capabilities.
Yeah, slowly escalating. I don't know, like, if they had the idea of, like, this trilogy at this point in, like, development with the first game. If they were going for, like, oh, we're going, like, really, like, high over the region. Because we still have, like, a bunch of other games to explore in this region. So we might go, like, to, like, some of the major cities, but then, like, in next games, just kind of, like, explore more of like the general areas around them, because like
also like the cities themselves are pretty small in the game.
Yeah, they're pretty
small.
I'd
imagine in the future games they're bigger.
Yeah, they're pretty small, and like the paths towards like them are also pretty like small. Like they're almost like 2 rooms.
They explicitly state that it takes about a day to get from city to city. So like it's a small country.
Yeah, it's a pretty small country overall compared to like the Empire.
I mean, we're literally called Hicks.
Essentially, yeah. But overall, I think this was a pretty it was a lot more interesting from a lore standpoint than kind of like a story aspect. There's like some nice hints. Olivier really like added some like intrigue into the plot once the whole Cassius plot line is kind of like dropped now, since like that's no longer our main drive. It feels more like aimless now.
It feels like we're setting things up,
Yeah,
and that we're going to use the senior bracers plot line as a means of motivating the next step, where we're going to stumble into the next thing that reinforces the plot line. I have a feeling that we're going to be doing like slight escalations until we get like senior bracer status, and then from that point on, either there's going to be a time skip, or especially because currently right now it's like get senior bracer status. So I have a feeling this next chapter might be like a really long one where we're just going through each city and solving their problems. Maybe solving like a slight escalation here and there. It might be split up into 2 chapters. I'm not sure. And then
I think it's going to be a chapter
from
per
that
city.
point on, we're going to move up.
Because I think there's 5 chapters in this game, roughly.
Oh, it might be that then, yeah.
And then it could be a chapter per city. I feel like the end thing has to do something with the queen, because like I feel like it's kind of everything's kind of like building around the queen.
2 cities now that the queen has been like the central
kind of like background thing. It's like he stole.
She's been the MacGuffin.
Yeah, she's kind of been kind of like the, oh, here's the money, or like here's the jewel, something for like coronation, not coronation thing, but like celebration of the queen's birthday.
Plus, they've also alluded to the shadowy organization and mind control.
Oh yeah, the shadowy organization is going to be like the true villain. I don't know if it's going to be like, oh,
I don't think
we have to
Urbonia's
face
gonna get
against the
involved at all.
army, something like that.
I don't think Urbonia, like from a military standpoint, is going to get involved whatsoever. I think it's
Yeah,
going to be internal politics or
Yeah.
espionage.
Yeah, I think it'll be because I don't feel like there's going to be like if there's going to be a war, it'd probably in like the 3rd game, because that makes more thematic sense if there's like tension between them. But there's currently like really like no tension, just more like kind of like just past relations of them. There's no like clear like, oh hey,
It's almost like the
war times.
Urbonians like
Well,
respect.
actually, no. Well, there was like the whole Sky Pirates might be leading into a war earlier in the chapter where we were talking to Morgan. It's like
No,
potentially
but
a
Morgan
war.
specifically said the Sky Pirates might be hired by Urbonia to do illegal wartime operations, even though there's no war. That's what Morgan said, and then we like disproved that. So I think that it's like it's going to be a bunch of small things that are like, oh, it must be Urbonia, and then it won't be Urbonia. I feel like if we do a second game, that one might be more involved with like leading up to Urbonia becoming an issue. I'm not sure if the third game would be Urbonia or if the third game would be like I'm not sure. Because I know that when we go to the Urbonia games, it's all about military academy.
Yeah, it's all about military school.
Yeah, we've not been told once that Arbonia is declaring war on any other nation, except for the fact that it conquered a bunch of nations because it was an imperial nation. So maybe it is just like slow escalation up to war, and then the rest of the games for a period of time are just the war between Arbonia and Liberl.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see where it goes, because I'm excited and like to see like a long spanning journey.
Yeah, it's interesting too because as we start playing more games, it's gonna hit the Final Fantasy style. Not even the Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy each story is like encapsulated in its own.
Yeah,
this is
besides
more
like
a
the
visual
sequels.
novel that's like a series where it's like it's almost gonna be like
it's a
seasons
Kingdom
of
Hearts.
Of it.
It's a Kingdom Hearts.
No, not quite a Kingdom Hearts either.
It's
gonna be
similar
like,
to
it's
Kingdom
like
Hearts, where
watching...
there's like one continuous plot line over a bunch of games. Not like
But I
not
feel
in
like
like
it's
the
gonna be
terms
more
of
like-
world building, more just like storyline.
But I feel like it's gonna be more like a
It's more
Like
like a
a
book
s-
series.
maybe more like an anime. I think where it's like we're assuming that we're gonna have another season, so we're just gonna keep on like building up the story. If that makes sense. I
Yeah.
think a book works better because like a manga, especially, but the mangas have a tendency to be based on certain notions. I like book better. I think book is probably the best representation. It's like we've got a series, we know we're gonna make it, so now we can build things so that they're within a wider narrative than just the thing that we're talking about now.
Yeah, besides Kingdom Hearts and Trails, I don't know what other long running series that have like connected stories. I know there's like the Tellier series that has like connected stories. It's very rare to have like long form media things, because it's kind of like hard to get people on, because it's like, well, you have to go to all the way back to the first game if you want to get all like context, or just start at whatever game you want. But like,
Fate is probably the other big one.
well, that's not a game. I'm more talking about games, not series. Is
Fate-
like they do
Fate
it all
is
the
a
time.
famous TV show. Fate isn't everything. Fate's been like for fucking ever. You can do a million things with Fate right now. Like they have games, they have movies, they have TV shows.
I
they
mean,
have
I mean
comics.
specifically a game series is more what I'm talking
I just
about.
think it's harder with games because it's like the amount of investment of money and time is just fucking crazy. I think like the closest is honestly God of War, which is fucking wild. Because they have God of War 1, which was its own kind of thing. Then God of War 2 and 3 were all about like Kratos' journey to defeating the gods and redemption of his soul. And then once he killed all the gods, he killed himself, or attempted to, and that didn't work. He released like hope into the world, and then he fled from Athens, or from Olympus, all the way over to like the Scandinavian lands, and just is currently recuperating, and then created a child, and now the child is going to be theorized to be the next person that we play as. Like, genuinely, out of all the media that's available, I think God of War might be
I no
the
because
most
like
recent
the
version
thing with,
of like soon to be long running series. They even have spin-offs and stuff where it's like it's not really canon, like God of War Ascension. It's just different because it's like, and I do want to point out because if you haven't played,
there's not really spin-offs in Trails though. They're all like part of the series.
well, Trails was a spin-off.
Well, yeah, specifically Trails was a spin-off of a series. But
And
like
Fate
with
does a
God
lot
of War,
spin-off type
like
things in media as
because,
well.
like-
the thing I want to point out with God of War before you begin though, because everybody makes the same argument. I want to stop it before it even becomes an argument. God of War has a story. God
I
of
mean,
War
it does.
isn't-
Yeah.
God of War isn't just angry men is mad at stuff. Like God of War has a full blown narrative that it's not like perfect, but it has a lot more to say than just angry men hits things hard.
And what I'm saying is, it doesn't really resemble that much of Trails, because like it continues on with like the same character's story, whereas like each arc in this will have like recurring characters, but like have like different characters going through their own story arcs.
Yeah, but we were just talking about like a continuous plot line, and God of War is a continuous plot line. And currently we are getting potentially a switch from Kratos to Atreus.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
and
this
we
is
also have
completely-
recurring characters, so it depends.
completely off topic.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's chapter 1.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts about chapter 1?
If you haven't played the game, you should play it already. Chapter 1 is a really good setup, and I feel like from this point on, if you were listening and you hadn't played the game, the spoilers up to this point are kind of low-level spoilers. I feel like from the next chapters on, they're going to be far more involved, and things that you just can't back off on and like pretend you don't know, right? So if you're going to play now.
I felt very mixed during this chapter of like very like kind of like back and forth overall. The gameplay still hasn't really like hooked me, and I don't think it will, but like I feel like that's fine enough. Dungeon, I have a little bit of issues with the dungeon design going on. Not really many like mechanics or anything, or like and long ass periods of time where you don't heal or anything. It's kind of like it's like okay, I understand your game now, but it's good. I think like the list system. I feel like the magic system's just too inconsistent. Of like, okay, I'll do this, and then it's like, okay, it's behind here, I guess. No, and it feels kind of shitty when it's like, okay, all these people are much faster than you, and then will instantly kill your party. It's like, okay, well, that's fair, I guess, but
Yeah, it's kind of doing that thing where it's like, we're gonna assume the players have been doing absolutely everything and then build for that, rather than we're gonna assume the characters are just trying to play the game more casually. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
I think it has Divinity Syndrome. I know you haven't played Divinity, but Divinity Original Sin 2 is a stupidly hard game unless you're doing literally all of the side content and finding as much as you possibly can and scrounging for every bit of experience and optimizing to get every single piece of loot. Because loot is the thing that like ups your character the most. Levels don't even really impact you as much. So I feel like this game already has done that, because the vast majority of the content has been shockingly easy up until that final set of fights, and then it was like, oh my god, what's happening?
Yeah,
Like the difficulty didn't even spike; it just fucking launched into the stratosphere. The fact that I felt it after being that high over leveled, that's a bit much.
it's a bit much. Also, I do like the music in this game, but I feel like there's not enough music introduced in chapter 1. It was kind of like all repeat songs, and it was
Yes,
like
I'll agree to that as well.
I was like, oh, new area, same town theme. It's like, okay, we go to this village. Oh, same kind of town theme. Oh, well, different town theme. And it's
I think
like
the battle music is the same as well.
the battle music makes sense for being like the same. I feel more accustomed to like that being mainly the same over like the course of the game, since it's like an old game as well. Don't really expect that much, but like, we get some more town themes or something, or cutscene themes.
If I was to rate this in terms of like the frameworks I know for game design, I think the majority of the time went into story to such an extent that mechanics, technology, and art kind of shot off a cliff. Because like the art is probably like the second most focused on thing, but not really. Like maybe even third. I feel like tech and story are the most important things for this game.
Character portraits are pretty like focused on. Pretty like
Yeah,
decent.
but like the character models like is more of a representation of the technology of the time rather than art. You know what I mean? Like they're not like
both.
really smooth, pretty, highly animated, that kind of thing.
Oh boy. Trills is not known for very pretty graphics. The
Well,
Cold
like, you gotta
Steel
get rid of
games
stuff
are
at some
basically
point.
just PS Vita graphics throughout the whole thing, even though they switched to like PS4 for the last one. So
Nice.
so like I'm not really expecting much from graphics from this series.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of like even aesthetics or just how much time is put into making things look good, you know? Because it's like you've got like 4 components that you can really put time into in a video game in order to make it good. And it's mechanics, story, technology, and art. And art can be kind of anything from like music to sound design to everything like that, right? I feel like mechanics they put pretty good amount of thought into. I think story is like their main thing. And then I think like art is probably like their third, and tech, like I think tech and mechanics they spent probably around the same amount of time on. Story they spent way more time on, and then art they just didn't put too much time into. It was kind of like an afterthought of like, well, we need something that makes sense for the player to look at, right? Like all their menus are just a giant list of shit.
Yeah, it's kind of like it feels like an, of the time, kind of like PC era menu, just kind of a bunch of list shit.
But I mean, like, even like they have a list that has a list on the other side of the list, so that when you're looking at the list, you're updating a lower list. So it's like, this game is very much so like, we're not going to pay too much attention to the artistic aspects. We just want the other parts to shine, which is, I'm fine with that. I've thought of this a while, like, I would much rather play a game that has something to take away from it and talk about, like a story-driven game, or even one that's just mechanically engaging, over one that just looks really pretty.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'd rather have graphics look worse but are more fun angle that have come up recently, especially do the whole like AAA thing, which this is not. This is like double A.
Maybe we should talk about this off podcast, but there's Zero Zen or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game looks fucking absurdly good. Like the amount of animation gone into it is crazy, and like individual character personality is obviously there, and the amount of focus put into that makes me question whether or not the mechanics in the story are just gonna be kind of garbage, because just all the like effort may have gone into just mechanics and art, and then you've got nothing of substance. You know what I mean? So it'd just be like a brain rot kind of play it just to feel dopamine kind of a game. You know what I mean? So I think you can definitely use it as like a base for determining whether or not a game is good on just first looks. And yeah, I think AAA is definitely the one to lure into that whole like art first and then everything else is secondary. In fact, if I was to make a guess at like how AAA builds its games, it's art first because that's how you sell the game. Technology second because that supports art, and then everything else.
And then
throw it
just
out the
hire
window
like a
'cause who
contract
cares?
story writer. It's like, do something.
Yeah, literally. And
story.
it's like, fucking get, here's A, here's B, figure out what happens in between, kind of, we're good. Okay, call it a wrap. Like, it's just that. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think that's everything for today. This has been the Bracers Guild podcast. Thanks for listening in. We'll see you at some future period of time. Until then, please play this game. Yeah, goodbye.
Bye.